Hello, everyone, and welcome to Baad Ass Us. That's right, Baad Ass Us here on Vision and Purpose Media Production. And today is all about Mr. Lee's Happy Hour. This is the fourth Tuesday of the month, and it is Mr. Lee's Happy Hour on Baad Ass Us. Who are we? We are women, beautiful, accomplished, and divine. Our gentlemen, our brothers, accomplished and determined. Yet, as society see us, we must still change the narrative. That's right, that's who we are, Baad Ass Us, here on Vision and Purpose Media Productions. We see you on the other side.
Hello, my name is Tania McQueen. I'm the Residential Services Manager for Prestige Community Resources.
What our new facilities are respite centers. We're opening 2 in the city right now. Hopefully we'll expand to more. But respite centers are a place where people can come and get a little additional support with their mental health. Our one on Eastern Avenue is for men, and our one on Minnesota Avenue is for women. Our facilities are for all DC residents, especially focusing in on those in Ward 7 and 8. So they're really nice, and I'm excited for consumers to actually see them. What are the services that we're going to provide? Therapy, case management, medication management, all provided by professional staff, a licensed nurse practitioner, psychiatrists, sociologists, social workers, and then our paraprofessionals, our case managers. It's just a place where you can come and get the supports that you need to work on your personal goals, as well as to get your mental health straight. Simple, single adult, 18 years of age or older, a DC resident. You need to have insurance, but if you don't have it, it's okay. Still come, we'll work on getting you insurance. Have to have a negative COVID test, a negative TB test, and be willing to work on your mental health. For more information about respite services, you can contact us at 202-796-5000 or hit us up on our website at www.prestigecommunityresources.org.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Lee's Happy Hour. My name is Lee Manley, and I am your host. And what makes me happy is my opportunity to bring you conversation and information that might be helpful to you or someone you know and or care about. And if you didn't know, this is the fourth Tuesday of the month. We're going to do some things different this evening than we did last month. We're going to spend a portion of this morning or this afternoon or this evening, depending on where you are in the country. We're going to talk a little bit more about the impact, the understanding, and the depth of communication. And then we're going to do a little thing. I don't know if it's a little thing or not, but we're going to devote a portion of today's show to talk about the latest tragedy in America, what we all seem to know too much and too painful, but it ties in to the first portion about communication. If you missed it, you missed me and Karen, or Karen and I last month, talking about the difference between verbal and nonverbal communication. What's it like when you're talking to someone? Now, follow this. You speak English. I understand English. So how do we end up miscommunicating? And by the way, we have Marjorie with us today, who missed last month.
That's right.
But she's with us, and she's going to get in the middle of all of this. For those of y'all that missed her, she's over there. Wave to everybody, Marjorie.
Hey, everybody.
All right, there you go. And we have our audience. Mr. Ernest Gabriel's in the audience, supporting us.
Thank you.
So here we go. Here's what I want us to do a little bit different today.
Okay.
When we talk about communication, again, how do we end up miscommunicating if we understand? And then there's the written word. How do you misunderstand the written word? And then there's the non-word. There's how I feel. And how does that come across? And you can always tell because the opening sentence is always, follow this carefully, the opening sentence is always, what's wrong with you? I haven't said a word, but something about my face and my body language is telling you that something is going on with me,
Right.
nonverbal. So I can look at you and say, well, Marjorie, what's going on with you? Nothing.
Right.
Am I right?
Yeah.
I'm okay. And then your body language shift and you shift. You don't want no eye contact. And
Right.
sentences are very short. You almost feel like you're mean, but I don't know what's going on because we've not got on the same page of talking it through. So that's what I'd like us to kind of tinker with a little bit this morning because me and Kay, we rolled last month. So if you would, let me start with you. Why don't you tell us how you understand and what you think the difference might be between verbal and nonverbal communication, written versus, well, you tell me.
I think that verbal communication seems as if it might, I'm just saying it seems as if it might be easier to understand because, as you said, we all speak English. So we're using the same words. But problems do occur there too because when I say a word, it might not mean the same thing as when you say it.
Tell me what the word could be.
Let's see.
Marjorie, I'm glad to see you.
I'm glad to see you too.
Now,
So-
how do you understand glad?
Glad that you're happy that I'm here.
Yes, I am.
And then I can say, Marjorie, yeah, I'm glad to see you too.
See, that's a different thing. Inflection.
Yes.
The way that
Yes.
she said it
Yes.
brings it a different meaning.
It's in tones.
That's very good, Kim.
Yeah, yes. And so, and that's what we was talking about as well.
Did you see the show?
Yeah,
Yes.
the body language
So it was
and the
verbal and nonverbal communication.
yes. So it was the tone in my voice
Right.
and then the body language and the look
Yes,
I gave.
exactly.
Yeah. So glad meant something different. Yeah.
got
Yeah.
that.
So yeah. So
Yes.
you're to your point. You're right. We can interpret. We can. Interpret words differently than one another, and that is true. And that's why for me, if I can just add this in, I always say I watch how much communication I'm doing through text. We talked about that. Because usually I'm going to read it one way, and you can read it another way.
Exactly.
And it's and so you can have a different viewpoint of what I may have typed, but I'm saying it like, hey, and you may took it like, oh, what, so that's why text is not good to have a conversation through. It's only supposed to be used to
Right.
send a message real quick
it.
here and there, but when you got to go back and forth, it's time to cut it off.
Exactly.
Pick
my,
up the
my
phone.
son always tells me that.
Yes.
Because you're right. It can get lost in the communication.
Yeah, the translation just get
How does it get lost? It's too easy to say it gets lost if you don't know how. How does it get lost?
I
It's the-
think
it's
she
same,
just said.
it's the same words.
Yeah.
You're just reading it instead of hearing it.
But there's so many nuances to communication.
Yes.
When I said that my son said that, he's a different generation to me than I am.
Yeah.
And so when like Karen said, if I'm reading it one way and he's saying it another way. I might be taking it very seriously, whereas he might be joking. But because we're not even having a real conversation, I don't know that. So that is lost in the communication.
Yeah. Yeah, Miss Lee.
Listen to what we're not saying. And again, in terms of communication, I hear what you're saying, but I also hear what you're not saying. So the idea of this experiment or this opportunity is see if we can be clear about when you say, well, my son might interpret it one way. Interpret what? What was the text? What exactly was the text? How do we misunderstand English? When you hear it, when you read it, how does that get misunderstood?
I
Yeah.
don't know if it's really misunderstanding. I think
Okay?
it's more that people just understand things or interpret things differently.
Differently.
Right.
Even when you read a book.
Because and that's a good one because my friend and I we read the same book, and you know where I'm going with this already, Marjorie. That's why you my girl. We read the same book, okay? Now, oh girl, wasn't that book good? And I'm looking at her like, no, did we read the same book?
Exactly.
Because she was over the moon about it, and I was like, this was a
Yes.
waste of my time.
Exactly.
And these the same words, the same book,
Right.
the same everything. But for her, it was like, oh my God. But
was
for
it.
me, I was like, I couldn't get through it all.
Right.
I just couldn't. So,
So that being the case, then what do we need to do? We seem to understand how things get misinterpreted. So, what do you think ought to happen to close that area, that gap of I loved the book, I thought the book was a waste of time.
Well, I think that what needs to happen, and that's something that's simple. A book, it seems like it's simple. So if Karen reads it one way and I read it another,
Right.
the next step is for me to say, okay, I'm going to be open to whatever she wants to communicate to me about how she feels about that book.
Okay.
And I want her to do the same.
Okay.
And sometimes, Karen, you're absolutely right. I didn't even think about that until you said that. You know, so we're open in listening to what the other person's thoughts are. Then we
yeah.
have a real communication.
And see, and that was a good point too, because I was going to say, and the side note to that, my friend, her name's Sharon Hammond. Hi, Sharon. So my friend Sharon, she was like, "Girl, what you mean?" Da 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 da, and she went and explained the book, and she was just so dramatic with it and theatrical with. I was like, God, well, why did you? I said, you made the book sound good. I need to go back and read this book
Yeah.
again. And so it was just, and so to your point and your point, it was just so funny how once she gave me her interpretation, her point of view, the book was really good.
So we have to be open. We have to
So
be open.
I was open, and then I went back and I went ahead and finished the book, and I was like, God, she made it sound so good. I would,
Right.
yeah. So you do have to be
Yeah,
open, yeah.
you do. And
Okay,
even if you
now-
didn't change how you felt about the book,
Right.
at least you understood what she was saying. And you could
Right.
see some of that.
Yes, I could. And I really did enjoy her interpretation, her version of the book.
Right now, I think we all remember maybe 2 years ago now, the hottest thing in our community was the coming of the movie The Black Panther. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
All of the millions of dollars they'd put into advertising and building it up and building it up and building it up. All of how many of us got in line, we got to be the first to see it. But when I finally saw it, didn't like it.
Oh, okay. So see.
All right. The message, communication, the message I got was once again, they got us pitted against each other. Once again.
Right.
And then at the very end, we're going to talk about all the goodness in Wakanda and what they're going to do to help save the world. But in the interim, in the early part of the book, they had us fighting each other.
Right.
All right. So I didn't care for it. Gabe's son said, "Hey, you looked at it the wrong way."
Okay.
And then he went and explained,
Like my girlfriend did. Right.
and it
Yeah.
tilted how I decided, well, let me look at the movie again.
Again.
Right.
So then I saw what he saw.
Right. And it's
Just
always
like
good
you
to.
did when you
With
finished
the
reading
book.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly.
The effort you have to go through to get a clear understanding. Most of us live on assumption. The assumption is if I say it, you understand it. And in too many cases, that's
Right.
not true.
That's true. That's true.
That's how we get messed up because I thought you understood what I said,
Right.
and you heard my words, but your interpretation was different than mine.
Right.
All right.
Right.
So when you said you'll be there in a little while, my little while is 10 minutes. Your little while a half hour.
That's
So
true.
when you show up, you looking at me like what's wrong with him?
Oh, talking in between the teeth. That's when you really know something going down.
It happens every day.
Yeah. That's true.
It happens every day.
That's true.
So how much energy do we put into closing the gap of understanding?
I mean, I don't know if I consider it to be energy. I think that it's important that wherever you go, you try to understand other people's points of view. And I'm not always good, and Karen knows this about me, I'm not always good about saying when I'm upset about something. But maybe if you say that, then you can have a communication and alleviate some of the issues that occur when you don't talk about things. So I think that's important. So I don't know if that's energy. It's just being open. To me, it's being open.
Well, you see, you keep saying the word open without saying what that
Well,
means.
to me, open means that I am always listening to what you're saying, listening to what Karen is saying. I'm trying
You
to
can't be on the fence. Yeah,
understand what
open
she's saying
minded.
and what you're saying. So we're talking about a movie, then I want to hear what she has to say. I want to hear what you have to say before I even say how I feel about it, because I want to say, oh well, that gives me a chance to, interpret what I thought, and maybe I might change my mind about some things. Or if I get the chance to talk, maybe you'll change your mind about some things. That's communication to
Yeah,
me.
yeah, and that's true. And sometimes, because I'm just the opposite. What Marjorie said, I'm the one, as you see, I'm the talker bee around here. And sometimes, if people, because like I'm prime example, I'm not gonna say which Super Bowl. It was a Super Bowl that happened, and it was the halftime. And everybody seemed to have liked this halftime show. Mr. Lee, I'm telling you, Marjorie, I was like, again, was we watching the same
Thing.
thing?
Right.
Yep.
Because I didn't like it, and I was very boisterous about not liking the halftime show. So by the time the third time, third or fourth time, a different person, each time to a different person. By the time they said, "Oh, girl, did you love that? When the halftime show?" I said, "Well, maybe I need to shut up and not tell people I didn't like." I said, "Oh, okay, yeah." And then I started just listening to why they enjoyed it and liked it so much. But for me, I had to stop and be quiet about not liking it. So
Right.
one of my other girlfriends didn't, we both thought the same thing. I had to tell her, I said, you know what? By the third time, I had to stop talking about it. I didn't like it because everybody seemed to like it, except for, so when saw that I was just, the minority that didn't kind of,
Really.
yeah. So
Well,
I just
but
kind
here's
of
the
was
other thing
quiet about
that
it.
too. You're talking about the Super Bowl and whoever was, I don't know who was the
Right.
performer or the movie.
Right.
Sometimes we have to make sure that we don't get caught up in just liking something because it's the fad.
Yeah,
and talking about-
exactly.
You're not even
exactly.
putting any thought in it. You're just,
Right.
oh, well, I love, everybody loves Beyonce. I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying
Right. You just use
that,
it as
yeah.
a, yeah.
Or everyone loved the Black Panther. Maybe there's a reason, like Mr. Lee said, that there was a reason not to like something about it. But try to formulate your thoughts based on really what you think or really what you feel. Don't just go along with the crowd.
Right, exactly. And to Mr. Lee point too, I have to sometimes stay away from all the hype, like you said,
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
hype, that goes into the marketing and the strategy, because they can just over flood it, and then they show you the best part of this and that, and then you get there, it be like,
Disappointment.
so sometimes, yeah, we can just, overextend a little bit too much on the marketing side, which I get it. The marketing strategy, that's what draws you in. But sometimes it can be, like you say, end up being a turn off as well, because it's nothing like how the hype was for me. So, it end up just kind of like, yeah. So
So let's shift from the intellectual part of communication to the emotional part of communication.
I like that.
All right, that's the nonverbal. That's when I'm hurt, when I'm angry, it's when I'm sad, when I'm happy, when I'm full, when I'm hungry. All of these physical parts send a message, and the introduction is always, "What's wrong with you?" And it depends on who asks as to what our response is. But the typical response is, "I'm okay, I'm all right."
Yeah.
And then occasionally we'll get a "leave me alone." Now, when I leave you alone, you want to know what's wrong with me.
Don't you care?
Ah, uh-huh. Yeah. All right, one last thing before going to break. Road rage.
Ooh.
We're familiar with the phrase road rage. What do you understand that to be, Karen?
Oh, it used to be me. Honest, if I have to be honest. Yeah, and that's somewhat. I'm serious. I used to have bad road rage, guys, and to the point of my road rage was I didn't have patience for nonsense because people get out here and they drive so crazy and so silly that I had to calm my nerves, because I'm the one. I'll be ready to blow the horn at you. But I did because I just can't stand stupid stuff, and especially like seeing somebody cut off an elderly person or just almost, can cause an accident kind of thing. I have no patience for them kind of drivers. So my road rage would show. I'd be like, did you just see? And my husband, even with my husband, look, he's like, babe, you got it. I was like, I just can't. So I had to, and to help my road rage, I had to work on that because it really was that bad. And see, y'all know me now, so y'all like Karen, not Karen with road rage, but I had to work on that. So I would make sure I try to set things up around a certain time. When the traffic is thick, I know my trigger points. When the traffic is thick, I don't want to be out there because that's when stupid stuff happen. The traffic is bumper to bumper, and you always gonna get this crazy person think he can move when traffic is still. So and I don't have the patience for people like that. I'd be like, come on now. So I had to say, Karen, so or when I know I'm gonna be out in traffic, my now I just make sure I leave. Marjorie can tell you, I am a person, I leave way, way, way early for when I'm sitting there through traffic or whatever. I'm much more woo-saw. But I was road rage.
So what are you?
But
What are you communicating?
yeah, well, you're gonna wrap this up, and when we go to to
Okay.
a commercial break, we're gonna come back and answer that, right?
All right.
All
Stay with
right.
us.
Yes, you stay with us.
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Lee's Happy Hour, and welcome, Marjorie. We missed you. We be right back at you. See you on the other side.
Bad Ass Us. Yeah, that's right. That's who we are. Bad Ass Us. What? Who are we? We are women. Beautiful, accomplished, and divine. That's right. Bad Ass Us. Yeah. Who are we? We are gentlemen. Are our brothers accomplished and determined? Yet, as society see us, we must still change the narrative. Yeah, that's right. Who are we? The black community. Remember us? We are accomplished. We are determined. We are divine. We are of greatness. That's right. The black community. Bad as us. Who are we? That's right. Who am I? I am the person committed to building the next community movement. What about you?
Welcome back to Lee's Happy Hour, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lee Manley, and I am your host. Just before we went on the last commercial break, Karen was giving us some ideas about the impact of road rage, and she described her attitude. And what was missing is what is the feeling attached when you hear somebody say road rage?
Now, the feeling that goes with that is usually most people are very upset and they react on their emotions. And that was me far as just blowing the horn and looking at the person like, really? I'm not the road rage where I want to fight a person or, because
Run them off the road.
yes, run them off the road because we don't see some bad road rage. People get out and shoot somebody, fighting them, run them off the road. No, I guess mine was the unorthodox road rage. I'm just like I say, I don't
Distress.
have patience for stupid stuff.
Right.
So when somebody is cutting off an elderly person or doing something like that, before they can even say something, I'm going to defend them. So I'm always the one to defend the person who just, and I'm always the person too. I would stop when I see an accident, and we got to do that, guys, because sometimes when the people, like when it's a lot of, road rage, fender bender, and that person keep going, you still have to stop for that person who's on that side. Yeah, because when the police come, you got to help give information because it's really important. Because what technically is all politics too. When it come down to your insurance company, just be able to have a witness saying that you wasn't the one at fault can kind of helps out a little better too. Because some people just do stupid stuff and keep on going and leave the person on the side of the
Right.
road.
Quite a few
So
people.
yeah. So that was just my road rage. So I hope I answered your question. So emotionally, it did just just make me go on the defense for the person who I see it happening to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Marjorie? Road rage means what?
For me, I don't really have road rage. I am concerned about people when things are happening that aren't fair. But one thing I do know about myself, because it's my pet peeve to be late. I don't like to be late. So I guess that's my road rage. Even though it's my fault, if I'm leaving late and I might be late, and it's always a might because I'm really never late. But if I feel like I might be late, then I'm upset with everybody who's around me. So I feel anxious. I feel a little bit angry, disappointed. Why didn't you leave earlier? Well, why didn't you leave earlier? So, and as far as the other things on the road, people acting crazy and all that, I just try to stay out of people's way because I know there's a lot of things that go on the road that shouldn't be going on. So,
Yeah, one of the things that I want to close with this, one of the things that's happening in our community now, here in the DMB, is these carjackings. And it seems like
Yeah, we was talking
either
about
the
that.
carjacking or the gun violence every day. Again, communication. What's the message that these kinds of behaviors are sending to the community? What's it doing for our elders and our children where you're afraid to go to the store?
right.
All right, you don't feel safe at school. What is what's being done? And I'm not talking about the politics. I'm talking about the emotional side for everyday people that mind their business. Don't mean anybody any harm.
Right.
All right. So communication, verbal, nonverbal, written, text, doesn't matter how you do it. It in and of itself is a full-time job of trying to get on the same page. All right. That's a full-time job, and the more we work at it, the more we minimize the possibilities of misunderstanding.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you as always for giving us an opportunity to kind of come into your life and talk about the things that we find to be interesting and hopefully helpful. And we're going to shift a little bit. I was right before the show started this evening. It was brought to my attention that there's been another, I'm not even sure how to describe it because I didn't see it, I didn't hear about it until Karen mentioned it, but it's worth us giving it the attention it needs with the hope and expectation that maybe somebody somewhere might have an answer, a solution, an idea about what we can do. So, Karen, I'll ask you if you be so kind is to share with our audience this evening about what you let me know happened. And I don't remember where was it?
Yes, it was Nashville on yesterday. We had another school shooting. So three children got killed and three adults, but they did.
Is this the elementary school?
Yes, it was.
Elementary school?
Yes, the kids was 9 years old.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So so just wanted to talk about that because this is our Family Matters week, and just for the families, the devastation, so, grief, I just wanted to talk about that part of grief, because we also know someone else in our team that lost their son through, when it's homicide or something like that. It's just, it's a different kind of grief. Grief is grief, and it's really hard. But when
Wait, wait,
it's
wait, 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 wait. Again, in terms of communicating, there's the saying the words, and then connecting it to the feeling. Grief is about sadness. It's about hurt. It oftentimes will have people withdraw. You lose your appetite or your ability to concentrate. These are the side effects of grief. All right? I don't want to just say grief and think everybody think it means the same thing,
Right.
because that's what we're talking about.
right.
That
Explain.
words mean different things to
So,
different people.
yeah, and grief, and for me, grief is different. Grief is just hard on everyone, and I just think it's at another level when someone passed from just natural causes, opposed to someone passing through homicide. Because you're not prepared for that. And then also when there's children involved, your grief is just different, because especially for parents, you never think that you will have to bury your child before yourself. So, so you got two things that's working against you right now. It's your child, and plus it's homicide. You didn't see it coming, and it's just, so grief is just different. But, like you say, I just kind of wanted to just give our condolences, and just say, to the community and the families down in Nashville. I know it's a healing process, and it is a process, and we have to trust the process. So I just wanted to kind of just hear everybody's thoughts about it, and then also just give solutions to, as us as the community and us as the people, what is the solution? Because I think a lot of times we focus on the action itself, or the person who did the killing outside of, because sometimes I think we need to kind of be sensitive to the families that now have to hear about this, and just try to give solutions to the family, give them a listen ear, because repeating it over and over again
Yeah.
doesn't do them any good. So one thing I would say, if you're a friend, close friend or whatever, please don't go with the pity party look on your face. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear. Well, what happened? That, and when somebody passed away, the last thing you need to ask is what happened.
Right.
So little side, just I want to just give some little side note. Just, what, if you really want to show your condolences, just listen. Let's go back to that part of what we was talking about today, talking versus listening. And I think that's the best time when your listening skills should be on instead of your talking skills. So we talking about talking versus listening. You just need to sometimes just listen, because in the moment of they hurt, they disappointment, they grief, they anxiousness, they would tell you what they want to share.
Right.
And then you have to just leave the rest alone. So
And I also think that in the world, there are people who are good and there are people who are bad. And because these things happen and they're on a national level, we know about it. And of course, our grief is not the same as a family's grief or friends who live in that area. But we can do something with how it makes us feel. And that's to reach out to others and to be a positive force in our community. There's so many things that we can do as well.
Yep.
Because we're grieving too. When those things happen, it brings us grief as well, because we're thinking about our own families or people who are close to us, or even events that have happened in our lives. And we can make good from those things, rather than just saying, well, I guess that just happened. Too bad. Because for everyone, it's not just too bad.
yeah,
It
exactly.
really matters. Because we wouldn't be talking about it if we weren't concerned about it.
Yeah, that's true.
But, we still know we're not a part of that. But we are a part of it. Because we can make changes in our communities and in our families too.
Yes, and okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Lee. I'm gonna let
No,
you
it's
come.
no need to be sorry. I mean, that's what we wanted to
Yeah.
dedicate dedicate this part of the show to is to kind of work through and talk through what it's like for us, even though this was in Nashville.
Right.
We were impacted with sadness and fear. You know,
Exactly.
I'm thinking about my granddaughter. She's 3 years old.
Right.
You know, and do you? I don't know if there's a solution. You know, that's the part that frightens me the most. Is I don't know that there's a solution. There's plenty of words, but I don't know that there's a solution.
What you mean by you don't know if it's a solution? Solution to what?
You have two factors going at the same time. You have guns available, and you have mental illness. I don't know that there's a solution for either one of them. You have guns that are available to people, and you have mentally ill people. When we hear about these things, that's the combination. Mental illness, something's got to be wrong with you to do something like that.
Yeah.
But the reason, in part, of the mental illness is you're having access to a gun. Doesn't matter whether you got it illegal or not. But those two factors create this thing that keeps happening to us. And it doesn't matter whether you're black or white. What matters is it wakes up the fear and anger in me. My son just yesterday scolded me about paying more attention when I'm getting in and out of my truck. He said, "Daddy, they
Pay attention
carjacking,
to your surroundings.
carjacking." He said, "You got to pay attention." He said, "Dad, you can't fight or run."
So you better pay attention.
Little Gabe over there like agreeing.
Yeah,
But you know, Mr. Lee, we also don't want to live in fear.
No.
That's why I said we can make changes and differences in our communities and in our families. You know, our children are affected by mental illness much more than we were when we were their age. And I think that it's because of all the things that happen in the world today. You know, when I went to sleep at night, my parents left the door unlocked. We weren't afraid of anybody coming in our house. It never even came in our minds. And I'm like you. I don't always pay attention when I'm getting in my car or when I'm going out at night. And some people will scold me about that. But I don't want to live my life in fear. So
Yep. And look, I tell you, I'm just a country girl too hard, so I know about that part of it too. You are so right. Even
Yeah.
I have my mom best friend. And this is Southeast Washington. I can go to her house right now, and I never knock. Nobody knock on her door. We just know it's open. We go right on in. And she been like that. You know, she's from South Carolina, and everybody know her house is the happy house, and that is the house that's always open. And she just have that community motherly love for everyone. So if I go to her house and that door lock, I'll be like, what
happened here?
Something must be
something
wrong.
had to have happened.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah,
again,
that is
how we
true.
communicate.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, there's the openness based on years of experience, and then there's change.
Right.
My door used to be open until it was broke. Till they broke in there twice, and then I kind of figured out.
Oh, maybe I better lock my door.
Yeah, and the carjacking it does, you know, it's not nobody neighborhood, it's everybody neighborhood. It's not a certain neighborhood, you know, that we are experiencing a lot of the carjackings. That is just a big community issue right now. So yeah,
Man, I want to go back to Nashville.
no, yeah, but I was gonna,
When did that happen?
it was yesterday. It happened.
Yesterday.
Yep, it happened
Somebody
yesterday.
walked into an elementary school.
Yeah, 28.
A woman was shooting this time.
Man, I think there was a transvestite, you know.
Okay, see,
yeah,
I didn't.
so it's a 28, but they used to be a student of that school too. So, it's coming. Yeah, I know at 28. Yeah, they used years ago.
Did they catch them? Or
They,
what?
yes,
The person's under arrest.
no, they are dead. They
Oh,
did,
okay.
yeah.
But
Shoot
in
to
the
kill.
meantime, what, 3 or 4 children were killed?
Three children and 3 adults. Yeah. So, and so that's why we was just saying, as far as it, just even now, just wanted to make reference and just give, our prayers and community outreach to Nashville. But now just talking about just grief in the family situation, if we can take this last few minutes just to say, like I said, just some things that you can do. Like even when I called Mr. Lee the other day, if I can, Mr. Lee, when I called him to make sure that we was, straight for Tuesday, our day today. And Mr. Lee always, as you can see, they got that distinct voice, and always high and up. And instantly I noticed that wasn't it when we
What's
was
wrong with
talking.
you?
Yeah, so I said, "Hey, Mr. Lee," and then started saying, "Was for me it is always word choices." Instead of me saying, "What's wrong with you?" Because instantly I know. I say, "Is everything okay?" And then he said, "Actually, it's not." I just learned that a friend passed away, and I'm taking it very hard. And I said, "Oh," I said, "Yeah." And then I told him, I said, "Well, I'm sorry to hear. I send my prayers to you." And I just instantly, and that's where I wanted to leave. I ain't asking how did he die, what happened,
That's
da 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 da
important
da.
too.
So I just thought, I told him, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear, and I would keep you in prayer because I'm used to Mr. Lee energy being here,
Right.
and I can tell that he was really
Hurt.
hurt and
Yeah.
grief for his friend." So my thing is, I know one time he was telling me he got this thing for candy bars, and I hope I got it right. He ain't gonna tell me if I got it wrong. I said, "You know what? What I'm gonna do is on Tuesday, I'm not gonna talk. Keep him on the phone long talking about it. So I say I'll see him on Tuesday. So I bring him a card, get him some candy bars, and tell him you can have your comfort food." So I hope it was Reese cups that it's supposed to be.
Nonverbal
But yeah,
communication.
yeah.
Nonverbal
So
communication.
that's and then even another situation. So that's what I want to say. Sometimes don't ask the questions, just listen, and then do something, do a gesture for that person can know that you really care. Because sometimes we always say, "Oh, well, anything I can do for you, just let me know." No, don't do. Just do it.
Do it. That's true.
Because at the midst of it, they're not gonna let you know. If you really want to do something, do what Marjorie said. Go ahead and step out and show your love and your concern. And that's what I did. I ain't asked Mr. Lee. I just did something, a
Yes, you
small
did.
gesture. And then even we had another friend. She bakes all the time, and she bakes, and I'm not a sweet person. I don't have the heart to tell her I really don't eat sweets, but her baking is good. So now and I can't cook a lick, Mr. Lee. So and she ended up losing her son. And I said, "Oh, what can I do for her?" Because we go again, like I said, a parent never expect to bear their child before you. Her son was 30 in his 30s, like 32, 34, I think. So I end up asking a friend who bakes really good. I said, "Can you make me something for I can take to her?" Because this person always makes stuff and give it to me. And I don't have the heart to tell her. I'm not big on sweets, but her sweets I eat. Like you probably ain't gonna never tell me if I gave you the wrong candy bar, but you're gonna eat it.
You just
So
told her, Kim.
yeah,
You know that.
no, no. So, but I'm just saying. But her sweets I love. I do eat.
Yeah.
So and my friend ended up did. She fits me something. I took it to her, and she really appreciated. She was like, "Oh my gosh, this is exactly what I needed." And even the next day, I could tell that she really appreciate my gesture because she
It's
texted
all
me.
about that.
Yeah, and she said, "Thank you so much for this. I had a piece with my cup of coffee this
Okay.
morning, and it was delicious." So I think sometimes we need not to say anything and just make sure that we just do gestures and don't ask the why and all that. If you or just listen. Like then I was just quiet and I listened, and then I just did a gesture.
Right.
So yeah.
And
So
that also, makes up or alleviates for some of the bad things that do happen.
Yep.
Bad things are always going to happen, but we need to do good things.
Yes, yes, I believe that,
Let me
Marjorie.
just very,
So,
very
yep,
quickly
yep.
say that here is here is what happens in America when these things happen. The media, the debate becomes guns. All right, so they start arguing about guns, background checks, and all of that kind of thing. Here of late, there's a very small and steady movement about people that want to talk about mental illness. All right, but that's the combination. That's how these things happened. It's a combination of gun availability and mental illness. Now we have to make the emotional adjustment of grieving, of being sad, being angry, and not let it overwhelm us like you're talking about, ruin my day. All right, but a gesture of kindness is a way of communicating. The way your voice changed when you heard my sadness, that's all about how we communicate effectively,
Right.
which is different than regularly.
Oh, yeah.
But all of us know how to talk. All right.
Yes, yes. You heard it here first. And this is Mr. Lee's Happy Hour. We're going to be back with our inspirational moment. Be back. See you on the other side.
All right.
Key that you mind your mental health.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing this week?
Use the 5 keys to mental
Well, this week
movement.
has been a really monumental week for me. I realized that I was not being myself.
Reaching out.
Be positive attitude person self, like you guys know me to be. I was
Staying
listening to
upbeat.
teaching and get back to that happy, cheery self you guys of me.
This week's been kind of
Being
stressful
creative.
because of all of the workload that we have on online learning. So I've been trying to use different platforms and different websites to help ease my mind and ease my stress.
And what about you, Margaret?
Well, you guys know me. I just love to work with others and serve them.
Serving others.
Realize that when I serve others, my mind is off of myself.
That's right. And don't forget, self-care is key.
Self-care.
All right. So see you guys next week.
Right.
Bye.
Your mind matters.
All right. Welcome back to Mr. Lee's Happy Hour. And now it is time, Mr. Lee, for our inspirational moment. We are just loving this. And Marjorie and I, wore the hats because, this is your thing, your hats. But I'm letting you know now, Marjorie and I already said, come summer months, look, Marjorie ain't say nothing, but I'm putting you in it, right? Come the summer months, we ain't wearing no hats around here.
Yeah.
I'm just messing.
All right.
But with the inspirational moment, I'm gonna tell you, Marjorie, you about to look cool giving it to us with that hat on,
Yeah,
girl.
that's
That
right,
hat
that's
is saying
right.
something.
I was looking cool
Yeah,
already.
yes. But I'm just saying,
Thank you very
look,
much.
I never got the inspiration moment like this
That's
before,
true.
though. So
That's very true.
this is cool. This is cool. This is what's up. So now it's time for the inspirational moment. The inspiration within with Marjorie Militant.
That's right. And I think
Yes.
that this kind of ties in too. The topic is accountability.
Yes.
So the scripture is Psalms 139, 23 through 24. And it says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." Everlasting. That's Psalm 139, 23 through 24. And I just want God to audit my life. Audit means to look at my life. Just search me and see who I am and, help me to be more like him. That's what I want to do. I always want to be more like him. So I think that even though there's a lot of things in the world that cause you to be anxious, and what's the word? Anxious thoughts, to have anxious thoughts. That happens every day for everyone, I think. But we have to put our trust in God. We have to believe that he's going to sustain us. It doesn't mean that we'll live through all the bad times, but it does mean that we can get through them. So I just want to know what you all think about accountability
Yes.
as far as how that pertains to your life, whether it's just about you, your relationships, or your relationship with God.
Yes.
Well, let me, based on the reading, instead of have to, how about I want to? Instead of I have to,
Oh, yeah.
change it to I want to. That's a whole different kind of willingness on my part. I want to be I want a spiritual life. I know I need God's help. One of the ways that I'm very familiar with us is the phrase, "Thy will be done." All right, we say that all the time for those of us that pray. All right, we say it all the time, "Thy will be done." Be done where? On earth, as it is in where? In heaven.
Correct.
So what might God's will be for us on earth? Well, he gives us this day our daily bread. And we
Yeah, that's true.
I'm involved with some folk that really help me understand these words. I know how easy it is to say them, all right, but being able to apply them is in a whole different way of life for me.
Right.
So prayer, when you those kinds of messages, when I hear have to, in my head I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, why do I have to? How come I don't want to?
Yeah.
If you say the audit means for God to look through me, how come I don't want that as opposed to I have to do that? And that's where prayer and meditation works for me.
Right.
Let me just leave you out with this one. Every morning, he let me wake up. I thank him.
Yeah.
Now, what I might do to mess up the rest of my day on me, but I know he gave it to me, and I know he didn't give it to everybody.
Right.
Because last Wednesday, my friend died at 62 years old, healthy. And it was his turn to go. That ain't got nothing to do with how I dealt with the hurt, because I got people in my life. And that's part of communicating that we didn't get to this evening. Who are the people that love and nurture and support you when you're struggling?
Right. Right.
And if you ain't got them, you better get them,
Yeah.
because it helps make the difference.
But
Yes,
one of the
Margie?
things that Karen said that stuck in my mind was, first of all, I just want to be accountable for all of my actions.
Yes.
And there's some people who do not want to be that. That's a different story. But what she said was, when she called you, she didn't say, what's wrong with you? She said, did something happen? I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
But it
Are
was-
you okay?
Ye-
Yes.
You
Yes.
okay?
And so that means she's concerned about you
Yes.
and not about
The circumstance.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that, like I said before, bad things are going to happen. We know that, but we just have to try to make a difference wherever we go. Even if it seemed like a small thing, it's not a small thing. You talked earlier when you first came about, what's the place in Southeast you talked about? The neighborhood that they just, Berry Farm. So I used to go visit there and visit families because I was a social worker. And, I wasn't in my element, but I am in my element. Wherever I can help is where I'm supposed to be. And when people start to think like that, they're making a difference no matter what goes on that's bad. And I think that's important. Yeah.
I agree. But back to the scripture, accountability. Yes. It is important to make sure that you are holding yourself accountable. And I'm going to take a little twist from difference, Mr. Lee, that sometimes different scriptures and word in the Bible are direct, for a point, because, we need to know. And fear of, because, the old saying go, nobody, I put the fear of God in you. And sometimes the scripture is not about the fear, the actual act of fear itself, but it is about the command, So, yes, certain words, it needs to be commanded of us to do so. So, no, I don't, I have to, even though I want to. Want is a different thing. You want to will allow you to be lazy. Have to will call you to do so for God. To be obedience for him. So I have to be obedient to God. I have to make sure I am accountable. I have to make sure that my anxiousness is not not of him, or I have to make sure I am seeking him first before I react to what my anxious thoughts are, because we all going to have anxious thoughts, but the part is we acting on it, because that's an act. What just happened yesterday, someone act on their anxious thought, so
Not being accountable
yes,
for their decision.
right, not being accountable. So when I have to make myself be accountable, and I have to think about my anxious act, then that'll slow me down, and maybe I won't react on them. Where I know I won't react on them, but when I just want to, want to do this, I want to do that, I'm gonna be a little more lazy than if I have to be accountable to God. If I have to be obedient and be accountable to God, and it's just for me, that means I'm just making sure I'm in correction of what His command asks of
Right.
me.
Right.
So,
And that
yeah.
sums that word up very well.
What?
So I'm just going to read it again.
Yeah.
Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. So we're never going to get His promises if we don't follow that direction.
Yeah, exactly. You have to. Sorry, I'm leaving on the have to. This is, Mr. Lee's. This is Mr. Lee's happy hour, and what you got up your sleeve for next month? Because I tell you, you've been banging it and knocking it out the ballpark. We have really been enjoying you here. We got 1 minute left, and we giving it to Mr. Lee's happy hour.
Well, as usual, I want to. It's good to see Marjorie back.
Thank you.
You've been missed.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, you have. You're part of the crew that I was introduced to.
Right.
So,
That's true.
anyway, welcome back,
Thank you.
and hopefully things will continue to work out for you where you'll stay a part of this.
Oh, yeah.
Let me close with the idea of processing grief and sadness, directly and indirectly. Directly has to do with my friend, and indirectly had to do with what happened in Nashville. And I'm just wondering, what must it be like for the families on both sides? The person that did this horrible thing had a family, and then these children and the wounded people. This is the world we live in. So part of is prayer through grief. Staying with making sure that you have a support network of people that not the superficial, but the real folk that will think enough of you to get you a couple of pack of Reese's pieces. Yeah.
I think that must what it is. I knew it. I almost
Not the big ones,
yeah
the little ones.
yeah Reese's Pieces. Thank you. I listen well.
You
I
threw it
heard
in
that.
there.
Yeah, it's the Reese's Pieces, and I knew it. I started to get one of each to make
That's so
sure I
funny.
was on point.
All right, for those of you that are with us, thank you.
Yes.
And look forward to the fourth Tuesday in April. We'll be back.
Yes, and we'll see you on the other side, Marjorie. And thank you, and welcome back. Yes,
thank you.
yes,
Thank you.
and in the meantime, as we say, continue to see the vision, for you can live the purpose. God bless. Good night.
Bye-bye.